Tea is one of the most trusted drinks in Britain, but most people never stop to think about what is actually inside their tea bags. Every day, millions of cups are brewed without a second thought about how different brands actually compare in terms of sourcing, processing, and transparency. In this video, we break down some of the most popular UK tea brands and look at what sets them apart based on publicly available information. Not to judge, but to understand what you are really buying when you pick up your daily tea. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive into everyday products, make sure to like and subscribe. Now let's start with the most widely used tea brands in the UK and what they actually represent in everyday cups. Let's start with number 5, Tetley. Tetley has been a fixture of British kitchens for generations, known for its round tea bags and its promise of a strong, reliable brew that suits the classic builder's cup of tea. The brand built its reputation on convenience and consistency, sourcing tea leaf from growing regions across Africa and Asia to maintain a steady blend year after year. Much of Tetley's everyday range relies on smaller, fast-brewing leaf particles rather than whole leaf tea, which is what allows that quick, strong color to develop in under a minute. This has fueled conversations among tea drinkers about the difference between fine-cut tea and the whole leaf teas found in premium ranges. Sustainability has become part of the brand's public messaging, tied to recognized certification schemes. Overall, Tetley remains a trusted mainstream option, even as consumers ask deeper questions about traceability. Now moving on to number 4, PG Tips. PG Tips is instantly recognizable. From its pyramid-shaped tea bags to its long-running advertising history, the brand has positioned itself as a friendly, approachable choice for the everyday British household, and it remains one of the most purchased teas in the country. Its move to plant-based, biodegradable tea bags was widely discussed among consumers who had grown concerned about plastic content in traditional bags, and the shift was seen as a meaningful step toward transparency. PG Tips has also pursued sustainability certification for its sourcing, which it highlights on pack to reassure buyers. Like most mass-market blends, the tea itself is made from smaller leaf particles designed for a fast, robust infusion, rather than the delicate character of whole leaf tea. Consumer sentiment toward PG Tips tends to be warm, rooted in nostalgia, even as some tea enthusiasts push for more clarity on which estates the leaf comes from. Next up is number 3, Yorkshire Tea. Yorkshire Tea has carved out a distinct identity built around Yorkshire pride, direct relationships with tea gardens, and a marketing tone that feels personal rather than corporate. The brand has invested visibly in its ethical sourcing story, publicizing visits to tea estates and partnerships tied to recognized certification bodies. Its blends favor a rich, full-bodied character, achieved through processing methods common across mainstream British tea using smaller leaf grades for a quick, strong brew. Yorkshire Tea has also promoted environmental initiatives, including tree planting programs linked to the regions where it sources tea. Among UK consumers, the brand enjoys a notably loyal following, often perceived as more community-minded than some competitors, with sourcing communication more visible than many of its rivals. Now coming to number 2, Twinings. Twinings carries centuries of heritage, tracing its roots back further than almost any other tea brand on British shelves. Today it sits at an interesting midpoint, selling everyday bagged tea alongside a much wider specialty range that includes single origin and flavored blends. Its mainstream bags follow familiar processing methods designed for convenience, while its premium lines lean into whole leaf and distinct regional characters. Twinings has developed its own sourcing program aimed at improving transparency and supporting farming communities. Consumer perception often splits along these two identities, with some viewing it as a heritage brand worth trusting, and others noting its everyday bagged tea is processed much like its mass market competitors. The breadth of its range makes it difficult to categorize as simply one thing. And finally, number 1, Typhoo. Typhoo is one of the oldest tea brands in Britain, with a name that once dominated shelves before facing increased competition from newer entrants and private label alternatives. Its blends are built for the classic, strong British cup, using processing methods similar to other mainstream brands to achieve a fast, robust infusion. Over the years, Typhoo has experienced shifts in ownership and market position, which has occasionally featured in broader industry discussions about the pressures facing legacy tea companies. Sourcing draws from familiar global tea growing regions, and the brand has worked to align with recognized sustainability certifications as consumer expectations have grown. Public perception tends to be shaped by nostalgia among older shoppers, alongside a sense among younger buyers that it has become less visible. It remains a value-driven option for households seeking a familiar no-frills cup of tea. Beyond the household names that dominate the supermarket aisle, there is a smaller but growing corner of the tea market built around a different set of priorities. These brands tend to place organic farming, direct sourcing relationships, and detailed transparency at the center of their identity, rather than simply competing on price and shelf space. For consumers who want to know more about where their tea comes from and how it was grown, this is often where the conversation naturally turns next. Now that we've looked at some of the most common supermarket tea brands, let's move on to a few options that are often considered more transparent and quality-focused. Let's start with number 3, Clipper. Clipper built its reputation as a pioneer of organic and fair trade tea in the UK, long before ethical sourcing became a mainstream selling point. The brand has been vocal about its commitment to unbleached, plastic-free tea bags, positioning itself as a leader on packaging transparency well ahead of many larger competitors. Its sourcing approach emphasizes direct trading relationships with growers, alongside organic certification that assures customers the leaf was cultivated without synthetic pesticides. Clipper has also been open about publishing details of its supply chain, which has earned strong trust among consumers who prioritize ethical consumption. Among sustainability-focused shoppers, Clipper is frequently mentioned as one of the more credible options, backed by decades of consistent messaging rather than a recent rebrand. Now moving on to number 2, Pukka Herbs. Pukka Herbs has built its identity around organic certification, herbal expertise, and a sustainability ethos that extends beyond the tea itself into the wider business model. The brand holds recognized organic certification and has pursued additional accreditations tied to ethical and environmental performance, reinforcing its position as a values-driven company. Pukka's sourcing model emphasizes long-term relationships with growers and a commitment to regenerative, biodiverse farming practices, communicated clearly to customers. The brand has also been transparent about ingredient origins, often detailing where specific herbs and botanicals are grown. Among consumers who lean toward wellness, Pukka enjoys a strong reputation, seen as a brand that backs its positioning with credible sourcing rather than surface-level marketing. And finally, number 1, Hampstead Tea. Hampstead Tea occupies a distinctive niche as one of the more specialized organic tea brands in the UK, with a strong focus on biodynamic farming methods that go beyond standard organic requirements. The brand holds recognized organic and biodynamic certifications, reflecting a farming philosophy that treats the tea garden as part of a wider ecological system rather than a single crop operation. Hampstead Tea has emphasized direct sourcing from specific estates, offering traceability that is less common among larger mainstream brands. Its positioning appeals to a smaller but dedicated audience willing to prioritize farming philosophy and ingredient purity over mass market convenience. While its shelf presence is smaller than the major brands, its reputation among ethically minded tea drinkers remains consistently strong. At the end of the day, the tea we choose to drink says something about what we value, whether that is convenience, heritage, price, or transparency. None of the brands covered here should be viewed as simply good or bad. Instead, this is an invitation to look a little closer at the products we consume without thinking, to check the certifications on the box, to read the sourcing claims, and to decide for yourself what matters most in your daily cup. Familiar packaging and decades of advertising do not automatically tell the full story of how a product reaches your kitchen. If this kind of investigation into everyday products is something you enjoy, give this video a like, subscribe for more, and let us know in the comments what food or drink you think we should look into next.